The door to Kimberly's executive suite slammed with a finality that echoed through the empty floor of Nova Dynamics headquarters in downtown Manhattan. "Amelia, sit down. We don't have time for pleasantries," Kimberly said, her voice steady but her knuckles white as she gripped the edge of her glass desk. I froze in the doorway, my heart hammering against my ribs. The woman who had mentored me for 3 years, the CEO whose vision had turned a startup into a billion-dollar tech giant, was staring at me like I was her last lifeline. "There's a rumor circulating that I've been having an affair with the supplier's CEO, the one whose faulty component caused the factory accident last week. It's not true, but the board is panicking, shareholders are suing, and our stock is tanking. To kill it, I need you to pretend to be my girlfriend. Starting now." My mouth went dry. "Kimberly, I'm your assistant, not an actress. This could destroy my life too." She leaned forward, her blue eyes intense. "Or it could save both our futures. The press conference is tomorrow. Say yes, and we control the narrative." The weight of her words hit me like a freight train. This wasn't just a job anymore. It was a pact with consequences that could ripple through our entire lives. I nodded slowly, knowing there was no turning back. The scandal had already claimed 3 employees' careers in the accident fallout, and now it was coming for us. We spent the next hour mapping out the story. We had supposedly been dating in secret for 6 months, keeping it quiet because of company policy. A few staged photos from last quarter's retreat would back it up. Kimberly's PR team would leak them tonight. "One rule," she added, voice softening for the first time. "No one gets hurt. We end this the moment the lawsuit dies." I wanted to believe her. By midnight I was back in my apartment in Brooklyn, staring at the ceiling while my phone buzzed with the first leaked photo notifications. The comments were already exploding. "Wait, the Ice Queen has a girlfriend? This changes everything." Sleep never came. The next morning the press conference room felt like a courtroom. Cameras flashed as Kimberly strode in wearing a tailored navy suit that screamed power. I followed 2 steps behind in the simple black dress she had chosen for me, my palms sweating. When she reached for my hand in front of the microphones, the contact sent an unexpected jolt through me. "The allegations against me are false," she stated calmly. "The only relationship that matters is the one I've kept private with Amelia here. The accident was a tragic equipment failure, and we are cooperating fully with the investigation." Her fingers tightened around mine. I forced a smile, but inside I was screaming. This was no longer a rumor we were burying. It was a new reality we had just created for the entire world. By lunch the stock had stopped its free fall. Analysts were calling it the humanizing pivot. My mother called from California, voice trembling. "Amelia Rose Carter, what on earth are you doing? The whole neighborhood saw the news. Are you gay now?" I hung up before the tears came. Kimberly texted me an hour later. "Board meeting at 4. Stay close. We're not out of the woods." I stared at the message, realizing the first crack in our plan had already appeared. Protecting her empire meant risking my own identity, my family, my future. And something deeper was stirring beneath the fear. Something I couldn't name yet but felt every time her hand had held mine on camera. That afternoon the boardroom was a battlefield. Suits glared as Kimberly presented the new narrative. "Public perception is shifting. Donations to our safety foundation are up 20% already." One director, Mr. Hargrove, leaned forward. "This feels convenient, Kimberly. How do we know this relationship isn't another fabrication?" Her answer was simple. She reached across the table and took my hand again. "Right there in front of everyone. Because I'm done hiding who I am. Amelia is real. The rest is noise." The room fell silent. I felt the weight of every eye on our joined hands. In that moment I understood the gamble. We had just bet our entire lives on a lie that was starting to feel dangerously close to truth. The days blurred into a carefully choreographed performance. We arrived at the office together each morning, shared coffee in the executive lounge where photographers lurked outside the windows, and left hand in hand for the short walk to the parking garage. Kimberly was flawless in her role, brushing a strand of hair from my face during a lunch meeting with investors, whispering something that made me laugh on cue. The media ate it up. "Power couple saving Nova Dynamics" became the headline. Stock climbed another 8% by Wednesday. But behind closed doors the cracks widened. On Thursday night we had our first real argument in her penthouse overlooking Central Park. My mother won't speak to me, I told her, pacing the marble floor. She thinks I've been lying to her my whole life. Kimberly poured 2 glasses of wine, her movements precise. I never asked you to lie to your family, Amelia. I asked you to help me save the company that employs 4,000 people. Including you. Her words stung because they were true. The factory accident had left a worker paralyzed. The lawsuit was for $50 million. If the company collapsed, those families lost everything. I sat down, suddenly exhausted. I just didn't expect it to feel this real. She looked at me then, really looked, and for the first time the CEO mask slipped. Neither did I. The next morning brought the first lawsuit filing naming me personally as a co-conspirator in the alleged cover-up. My phone rang nonstop. Reporters wanted the other woman's side. At the office, colleagues who once smiled now whispered. I locked myself in the bathroom and cried for 5 minutes before fixing my makeup. When I emerged, Kimberly was waiting outside the door. We face this together, she said quietly. Or we walk away right now and let the company burn. The choice hung between us like a blade. I chose to stay. That weekend we flew to a private event in the Hamptons, a damage control dinner with major investors. The ocean breeze carried the scent of salt and money. Kimberly introduced me as her partner with such natural ease that even I almost believed it. During dessert she leaned in and kissed my cheek, soft and lingering. Cameras clicked. Later in the car back to the city, she didn't let go of my hand. Thank you, she whispered. I know the cost. For the first time I didn't pull away. The city lights blurred past the window, and I wondered how long we could keep pretending when every touch felt less like acting and more like breathing. Monday brought the second crisis. A rival blog published anonymous messages claiming our relationship was staged from day one. The stock dipped 3 points before noon. Kimberly called an emergency all-hands livestream from the company atrium. I stood beside her at the podium, heart racing. Halfway through her statement she reached for my hand again, threading our fingers together in full view of the camera. I won't let rumors destroy what we've built, she said, voice steady. This is real. We are real. The chat exploded with hearts and support. By the time the stream ended, the stock had not only recovered, it was up 5%. The handhold had gone viral. But as we stepped off stage, Kimberly's face was pale. They're digging deeper now, she said. My family's private jet is landing tonight. They want answers. Kimberly's parents arrived like a storm front. Her father, a retired senator, and her mother, a former federal judge, booked the entire top floor of the plaza. Dinner that night was a battlefield disguised as family time. I sat across from them in a dress Kimberly had sent over, feeling like an exhibit. So, Amelia, her father began, cutting into his steak, how exactly did you manage to turn my daughter's carefully managed image into tabloid fodder? Kimberly's hand found mine under the table, a silent anchor. Dad, this isn't about image. The company was bleeding out. We stopped the hemorrhage. Her mother's eyes narrowed. By parading a relationship that started as a PR stunt? Darling, we raised you better than this. The argument escalated until Kimberly stood, voice ice. I am 35 years old. I run a publicly traded company. And for the first time in my life I'm not apologizing for who I love. The word love landed like a grenade. Even I flinched. Later, in the elevator down, she didn't speak until we reached the lobby. I'm sorry you had to hear that. I shook my head. I'm more worried about what my own family is going to say when they fly in next week. She stopped walking. They're coming. They demanded to meet the woman who turned their daughter gay on national television. We both laughed, but the sound was hollow. The following week the lawsuit discovery phase began. Depositions, document requests, endless hours of lawyers. One afternoon the opposing counsel asked me point-blank if our relationship predated the scandal. I hesitated half a second too long. Kimberly's lawyer jumped in, but the damage was done. That night she came to my apartment unannounced, still in her suit. We need to make this airtight, she said, handing me a folder. Inside were revised timelines, more staged photos, even a fake anniversary card. I stared at the evidence of our manufactured love and felt sick. Is any of this us anymore? She stepped closer. It's becoming us. Whether we like it or not. The media storm intensified. Paparazzi camped outside my building. My brother called from San Francisco screaming about how I'd embarrassed the family name. I stopped answering my phone. At work, the board scheduled a special meeting to vote on Kimberly's continued leadership. The night before, we stayed late in her office reviewing every possible scenario. When the last light in the building went out, she turned to me. If they fire me, I'll fight. But I won't drag you down with me. I took her hand without thinking. Then we fight together. In the dark, with only the city glowing through the windows, the line between fake and real vanished completely. The board vote was scheduled for Friday. Thursday night, Kimberly's parents hosted a private dinner at their suite, insisting I attend. The tension was thick enough to choke on. Halfway through the main course, her father set down his fork. We've spoken with several major shareholders. They're willing to back you if this relationship ends quietly and you issue a statement clarifying it was never serious. Kimberly's laugh was bitter. You want me to throw Amelia to the wolves to save face? Her mother reached across the table. We want you to survive, darling. This isn't the time for grand gestures. I stood up. With all due respect, this isn't a gesture. It's my life too. The room went silent. Kimberly looked at me with something like pride, and for the first time I saw the woman behind the CEO, scared but unbowed. Friday morning, the boardroom felt like an execution chamber. I waited outside while they deliberated. Every minute stretched into hours. When the doors finally opened, Kimberly walked out with her head high. They gave me 6 months probation, she said quietly. But the lawsuit is still alive. The plaintiff wants a public apology and $10 million in damages. We drove to her penthouse in silence. Inside, she poured us both whiskey and sank onto the couch. I'm so tired, Amelia. I sat beside her, closer than the script required. When she rested her head on my shoulder, neither of us moved. The city hummed far below, indifferent to the two women holding each other together against the world. The next crisis came without warning. The paralyzed worker from the accident gave a tearful interview claiming the company had ignored safety warnings for months. The stock plunged 12% in a single day. Kimberly called an emergency town hall. This time she insisted I stand beside her on stage. We will not hide from our mistakes, she told the employees. But we will also not let one tragedy define us. She reached for my hand again. The Livestream chat filled with support, but the damage was done. That night she received a call from her biggest investor. Pull out unless the relationship was proven authentic beyond doubt. We spent the weekend in the Hamptons house she rarely used, trying to create the proof they wanted. Long walks on the beach, candid photos for social media, even a carefully worded interview with a sympathetic journalist. Each moment felt more genuine than the last. On Sunday evening we sat on the deck watching the sunset. I don't know when it stopped being fake, she admitted. I turned to her. I stopped pretending the day you held my hand in that first live stream. The kiss that followed was inevitable, soft and full of every unsaid word between us. No cameras. No audience. Just us. Monday brought the subpoena. The plaintiff's lawyers wanted me to testify under oath about the exact timeline of our relationship. Kimberly's legal team warned that one slip could sink everything. That night we stayed up until dawn rehearsing answers. If they ask whether we were dating before the scandal, what do you say? She asked. I looked at her across the kitchen island. The truth is complicated now. She smiled sadly. The truth could cost us both everything. The deposition took place in a sterile conference room downtown. I sat alone at the table while lawyers fired questions. Did Kimberly Carter ever discuss the supplier contract with you before the accident? No. Were you romantically involved prior to the public announcement? I paused. The room waited. Our relationship became public when we chose to make it public. The feelings were there long before the cameras. It was the closest I could come to honesty without perjury. When I walked out, Kimberly was waiting in the hallway. She didn't ask what I had said. She simply pulled me into her arms right there in front of the elevators. The following week my family arrived. My mother, father, and brother checked into a hotel near Times Square and demanded dinner. The confrontation was brutal. "You're throwing away your future for a woman who used you as a shield," my father said. My mother cried. My brother threatened to cut me out of the will. I listened until I couldn't. "I love her," I said, the words leaving my mouth before I could stop them. The table went silent. Kimberly, who had insisted on coming, reached under the table and squeezed my knee. For the first time I felt the weight of choosing her over everything else. Back at the office, the board called another emergency session. The plaintiff had offered a settlement. $20 million and Kimberly's resignation. She refused. "I built this company. I won't walk away." That night she came to my apartment looking defeated for the first time. "Maybe they're right. Maybe I should step down and let you go free." I took her face in my hands. "We finished this together. No more running." She kissed me then, desperate and real. And the last barrier between us dissolved. File 6. The final board meeting was set for the last Friday in October. The entire company held its breath. Kimberly prepared her statement. Full accountability for the accident, new safety protocols, and a personal pledge to lead with transparency. I sat in the front row of the auditorium as she spoke. When she finished, she turned to me. And none of this would have been possible without the woman who stood beside me when the world turned against us. She extended her hand. I stood and took it. The applause started slowly, then roared. Outside, the Livestream numbers hit record highs. The stock opened the next trading day up 18%. The lawsuit settled quietly 2 weeks later for a fraction of the original demand. The plaintiff's lawyers cited changed public perception as the reason. Kimberly's parents sent a single text. "We were wrong. We're proud of you both." My own family called voices softer. Healing would take time, but it had begun. On a cold November evening we stood on the same balcony where everything had started. The city lights stretched endlessly below. Kimberly turned to me. "I asked you to fake date me to save my company. Instead you saved me." I smiled. "We saved each other." She pulled me close. And this time the kiss was witnessed only by the stars. True or false? The price of courage is always higher than the cost of silence.